Hi, Prakash. Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good, good, good. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me today.
Oh, no worries.
So before we get started, obviously this is about your personal development, and it's based off the self-assessment you did a few weeks ago, and then I've done a review as well of a few other sources, and I thought it would be really beneficial for us to now catch up and put together a development plan together. So, just to be really clear about the purpose of the conversation, this is a development discussion. It's not about your performance. So, we think you're performing really strongly in your role, and the conversation is actually just about supporting your growth in areas that you've identified, not about, necessarily fixing a problem, that we've identified. So the intention today is for us to build your plan together, as I said, so that it's practical, relevant, and supportive of the goals that you want to achieve.
Oh, well, thanks so much. I really appreciate that feedback. And you and the company taking the time to support my growth and development.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start by reflecting back on what you shared in the self-assessment originally, just to make sure that I've understood correctly and I haven't misinterpreted anything. So you highlighted some real strengths that you have, as being strong in organization time management, your high attention to detail, you're a clear communicator and collaborator. And I would say that that has come through in feedback that we've received as well from things like your formal performance reviews. So it's nice to see that you have a high level of self-awareness and that aligns with the feedback that we've received. It's really visible in your work. You bring structure, accuracy, reliability, and that has a really positive impact on how the team operates. So you did identify three development areas, which were building advanced data and reporting capabilities. You wanted to develop confidence in presenting and training others, and you wanted to take your organizational practices to a more kind of advanced, proactive level. So before we go any further, does that kind of reflect how you see your development, or is there anything you'd like to adjust or add?
Yeah, absolutely. That aligns really well with what I'm feeling are my areas of opportunity and development, and with what I've popped together into that self-assessment previously.
Awesome. Okay, fantastic. So, out of those areas, which one feels most valuable to focus on right now for you? Either because it will make the biggest impact in your current role or because it'll help you set up for future growth. Which one do you think is the most valuable for you to focus on?
Um, I think for me, probably the most valuable focus right now is around building my advanced data and my reporting capabilities.
Hmm.
That will, I think, have the biggest impact in my current role.
Okay, great. So, um, I had a similar thought as well. And so I looked at a couple of development options and I wanted to talk you through what those might be, just to get your thoughts on them. So
Okay.
um, I've looked at a couple of qualifications that we could enroll you in through an RTO.
Oh, great.
And EVT would cover the cost of that as well if there was any
Awesome.
associated costs. But there was a couple of courses that I looked at that I wanted to get your opinion on. So the first option I considered was um, a course BSB 411 making presentations. That unit focuses on planning, delivering, and reviewing presentations, and training sessions, like how to deliver training sessions. And it would
Hmm.
be, a great option when you're ready to really focus on the facilitation and presentation confidence that you outlined.
Yep, yep.
The second option, though, is the BSB 302, which is design and produce spreadsheet. Now, that one focuses on analyzing data, designing structured spreadsheets, and presenting information clearly using, the workplace data that we have.
Hmm.
When I kind of mapped both options against your role, what you've put in your self-assessment and the work you've already been doing, I think that second one that I mentioned, the design and produce spreadsheets, will give you the biggest impact immediately.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, you already work with operational and performance data. Uh, you know, you've got great spreadsheet skills, but by enhancing that, that'll reduce manual effort and errors. And it'll help you with, putting together better reporting, which will support clearer insights and decision making for the business. But that said, I don't want to decide for you, but based on what I've said, do you agree that focusing on 302 makes sense? And we can look at 411 down the line for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one did stand out to me anyway, when you were just going through them. Yeah, the design and produce spreadsheets is the right development focus for me at the moment. And I think I'd be happy to prioritize that as part of my learning and development plan.
Okay, fantastic. So let's confirm that one is the priority for this plan. Um, that presentation skills are still part of your longer term development. So that's great. We can look at that, and the people and culture team can help us facilitate that. So in terms of the support around this, you won't be doing this on your own. So I'll kind of personally lead and facilitate your learning, and we'll kind of try to build in real examples from your role and the reports you already work with, so that it feels relevant to you. In addition to that, I've organised for you to participate in meetings and learning sessions with the business transformation and strategy and insights teams, so that you can see
Great.
how data is used at a strategic group level.
Excellent.
And that'll also allow you to work with live operational data sets and not just kind of, again, as I said, generic kind of training examples. Um, Another thing that I'd be happy to arrange, if it's something that you'd like to do, is also quarterly one-on-one feedback sessions for you with Maureen, our head of strategy and insights. So, by spending that kind of dedicated time with Maureen, you could review the reports, spreadsheet outputs, get expert feedback on how, you're structuring your work, and that should help build confidence as well for you. I think it's really important that we lean on kind of like subject matter experts. I'm not going to be able to give you that feedback effectively, but I think Maureen is someone who could definitely, do that. So how does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds really amazing. Particularly having that one time with Maureen. Um, I know how busy she is, so I really appreciate you being able to facilitate that dedicated development time for me each quarter.
Yeah, awesome. You sound excited, so that's great. So the intention here also on how we'll like kind of integrate it into your work, because I'm really mindful that by being on a development plan, your day-to-day duties and tasks and responsibilities don't get pushed to a side, right? So we know that you're going to have to do those as part of your core day-to-day. So I think the approach that we need to look at is, on-the-job learning, coaching, and strategic feedback from Maureen and other internal stakeholders. So from your perspective, what would help make this learning experience, I guess, effective and manageable alongside, your core workload?
I think just having the dedicated time to practice on real reports, um, any coaching check-ins rather than formal classroom learning,
Yeah.
um, that would make it easier to balance, I think, alongside my day-to-day priorities as well.
Okay, no worries at all. We can certainly do that. So I think the plan we're building together, just as a bit of a recap to make sure that we're kind of aligned on this, is we'll look at the 302 as the course that we'll enroll you in using job relevant examples.
Yep.
We'll apply those skills directly to kind of operational and performance reporting. I'll speak to Maureen to arrange those one-on-one feedback sessions. And then, you'll always have the support of the operations team, myself, and we'll do regular check-ins with you. So in terms of timing, I would say that, there's a lot of components that'll be ongoing. But does that timing feel relatively realistic? Do you have any workload considerations that you think we need to work around or plan around?
I think at the outset, yes, the timing feels realistic. And I don't have any workload concerns really, as long as we can maintain flexibility during our peak periods.
Yeah. Great, of course. Yeah. That's a good valid point. Yeah. So, obviously operational priorities are going to fluctuate. Like you said, when we hit those peak periods, we slow the learning down, but we don't stop it. Like, I think that's really important.
Mhm.
So I think the goal should be around steady, sustainable development, but not pressure to complete the plan. It's going to be an ongoing kind of process.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Totally understood.
Yeah. So, did you have any other questions at the moment?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you've covered everything, and if I think of anything after our meeting, I might reach out to you. But yeah, thanks so much. This is
Okay. No.
awesome.
Yeah. No worries. So yeah, I do feel that the plan's kind of been shaped around your goals. And my role is to support you, remove those barriers, and really make sure the development adds real value to your work and confidence. So from here, what we'll do is I'll put together a plan. So it's kind of in a really easy to read, follow, digestible format. I'll then share that with our state manager, Sam, along with the wider team plan that we previously put together with Tierney and Renee, you'll remember. So
Yep, yep.
once we have approval on both the individual plan and the team plan, we'll look to start to implement them. And we'll and pending approval, which I expect we will get from Sam, we'll start by facilitating your enrolment into the course, and then arranging time for you with the relevant internal stakeholders.
Okay, excellent. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Looking forward
No
to
worries
it.
at all. All right, I'll be in touch. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks. Bye, Prakash.
Bye.
Bye.